Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to be doing part 2 of my overhyped or worth the hype series. This series is really all about dissecting those really popular products that we see all over social media. Today we're really going to be talking a lot about luxury and high-end makeup. And then in the next video that I'm going to be doing in this series, I'm going to be talking about some overhyped drugstore products. So do not forget to let me know in the comments what products you'd like to see me talk about in my next video. Before we jump into it, definitely do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and hit that bell button if you like to get notified every time I upload a new video, and obviously hit that thumbs up if you like videos like these. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I think I want to start off with a product that is very freshly hyped up. This is a brand new palette from Urban Decay. You guys could probably guess this. It is the brand new Naked Heat palette. I really feel like Urban Decay knocked it out of the park with this one. I feel like one of the main issues that a lot of people had with the other Naked palettes is that there really wasn't a lot of mattes in the palette, and because there weren't a lot of mattes, it was really hard to create like full looks with just the palette itself. But Urban Decay finally listened with the Naked Heat palette because there are so many really beautiful mattes in here. Now, this palette did have a little bit of controversy when it first released. There were some swatches going around that didn't really look very impressive, and I think that that created a lot of just confusion with the palette. And I gotta say that the swatches that were circling around were so misleading, because when I received the palette, I was shocked with how gorgeous the pigmentation was in basically all of the shadows. There are definitely some shades in here that do swatch, particularly a little bit on the patchier side, but that isn't really that big of a deal, because you got to remember that even if a shadow swatch is really amazing from finger to skin, that doesn't mean that it's going to translate on the eye. And same goes with shadows that may swatch a little bit on the patchier side. A lot of the times they actually apply really beautifully on the eyes, and I find that was the case for a lot of the matte shades in here. So overall, I do think that the quality of the eyeshadows really are so beautiful. I think that they differ quite a lot from the previous Naked palettes. I think that they have really improved the formula. They're a lot more blendable, and I do think that the pigmentation is just so much nicer. There is definitely a lot more color payoff, which I really appreciate. And just overall, I do really love the color scheme in here. It's not like we're lacking warm tone eyeshadow palettes on the market, but can't complain about one more. It is totally worth the hype. I think that this is definitely the best Naked palette by far, and if you're looking for a really beautiful warm toned eyeshadow palette, I do not think you'll be disappointed with this one. There you go. Those are my thoughts. Well, so now let's talk about some drunk elephant skincare, shall we? So if you were not aware, I do have dry and sensitive skin. I do not have acne prone skin, but my skin does have a lot of texture to it. So on my chin, my nose, and my cheeks, I do have a lot of like flakiness and dryness. So those are really my main skin concerns. So with skincare, I always like to look for products that are going to hydrate my skin and that won't react with my more sensitive skin, and that will also smooth out my texture. Before trying out this product, I also had a lot of like tiny little bumps all over my forehead, and they were not going away no matter what I tried. And I had heard that the TLC FRAMBOOS Glycolic Night Serum was really great for evening out texture. So I bought this for that specific reason, and I also picked up the LALA Retro Whipped Cream as my moisturizer. Now, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I've ever tried a skincare product as effective as Drunk Elephant Skincare. This product over here, I think, is the product that has really changed my skin. It has completely gotten rid of all of my texture. My nose, my chin, my cheeks, and my forehead are now completely smooth. It got rid of the bumps on my forehead within, I believe, 3 days. And then as far as the moisturizer goes, I do really like this moisturizer. It moisturizes my skin nicely without it feeling greasy. I gotta say, the product that is 100% worth the hype and that I recommend to like every single person who wants a skincare recommendation is this product over here, the FRAMBOOS Night Serum. I think that this is fantastic, especially if you have any type of texture on your skin. This is truly like the product that made the biggest difference. I'm really pleased, and I do think that personally for me, it was totally worth the hype. So now let's jump back into makeup, and we are going to throw it back old school. This is the NARS Orgasm Blush. Orgasm is definitely a cult favorite from NARS. It is the product that I feel like they are probably the most known for. The blush itself is a peachy pink blush with gold shimmer in it. I do believe they have probably reformulated it because it looks totally different than the way that it used to feel and look. I do actually have one that's a few years old, and I will compare them side by side because this one is brand new. So as for the original formula of Orgasm, I do not think it was worth the hype, only because the gold shimmer in it was so incredibly chunky that when you would apply it to your cheeks, you would see so many flecks of gold glitter, but it wasn't like a pretty subtle glowy gold effect. Oh no, it was just like flecks of gold glitter on the skin that just wasn't very flattering, and that's just something that I didn't really like about the blush. And I do feel like there are so many peachy pink blushes with gold sheens in them out there on the market that just work better, that blend better, and that look better on the skin. I also found that the texture of the blush was a little bit too rough for my preferences. However, like I said, I do believe they have completely reformulated Orgasm. Instead of it being a glittery chunky mess, is much more of like a soft sheen. So when it's on your cheeks, it actually is really pretty because it just has this very intense gold reflex, and the blush itself also does feel a lot creamier and a lot nicer. Those are all my thoughts on NARS Orgasm. The old one, not worth the hype. The new one, worth the hype. So next, let's talk about the Milk Blur Stick. Now, this is basically supposed to be a smoothing primer in a stick form. It looks like this. It basically looks like a deodorant, and what you do is you put it on your skin wherever you want to fill your pores and smooth things out. Now, this primer hated me. It hated me oh so much. It pilled so badly on my skin like nothing else. If you don't know what pilling is, it's basically when the product sort of like bunches up. So that is like the last thing that you ever want with a primer, because a primer is basically meant to create a really nice base for your foundation to sit on. But when a primer pills, it definitely will not create a very nice base for your foundation to sit on. But I just feel like there are so many other primers out there that just do a way better job of like smoothing out the skin, and I just think it was maybe a little bit gimmicky. For me, I do feel like this was overhyped. So you guys really wanted to know my thoughts on the Natasha Denona palettes. Now, I have tried 3 of the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. I tried the little, I don't know if they weren't quads, but they were like little tiny skinny palettes that had about 5 eyeshadows in them. I also tried her holiday palette, the Star palette I believe it was called, and then most recently I have picked up the Sunset palette. Natasha Denona eyeshadows are stupid expensive. They are ridiculous. And I think that's why people are so curious to know if they are worth their really, really hefty price tag. I do feel like the Natasha Denona eyeshadows are quite unique. I don't feel like there are many eyeshadows out there that have a similar formula to Natasha Denona, which is good because if you're spending like $100 and something on a palette, you want it to be a little bit different than everything else that you have in your collection. For example, in the Star palette, the shades that looked to be a little bit more metallic were actually quite glittery, and they were more of like a pressed glitter than a pressed eyeshadow. So when you would dip your finger in it, it would actually create a lot of fallout because it was, like I said, more of a pressed glitter. And people will either really, really like that or really hate that because number one, it creates a huge mess. It creates a lot of fallout. It creates a lot of mess in the palette, but it does give you a really, really beautiful, very like metallic, glittery, amazing effect on the lids, especially more of her like duochrome shades. They look absolutely gorgeous on the lid. So it's sort of like a give or take type of thing. I also really like the mattes in her palettes. I do find that they blend really well into each other. I don't find that you have to work very hard to get them to, you know, look seamless on the eyes. Even the Sunset palette, which I honestly thought would be just like any other warm eyeshadow palette, is quite unique. I really think that this palette was really well put together. You have your staples in here. You've got a cool tone brown, a warm brown, a really beautiful transition shade. You have some fun shades like the yellow, the red, the orange, and then you have gorgeous metallic lid shades in here. And I just think it is a very, very gorgeous and unique palette. I really don't have anything else like it in my collection. The one thing that I did notice about this palette, which I actually noticed today because I have used the yellow shade in my crease, and in my crease it works really, really well, but actually building this up on my lid was a little bit more difficult. I found that it was a little bit chalky and it didn't build up to the intensity that I was really hoping for. But I do think that this shade was really meant to be a little bit more sheer so that it was actually a little bit more wearable, because I have heard that some of her shades are actually meant to be a little bit more sheer so that they could be layered or used in different ways than you would expect, if that makes any sense. So that is something to keep in mind and consider. Also, actually, I want to mention that because these eyeshadows are so soft, and Natasha Denona's powders are really, really soft in general, they will break so easily. I've never had products break as much as my Natasha Denona products. The Natasha Denona Duo Glow Blush, which I love, completely broke and fell out of its packaging, and also my contour palette that I have from her completely broke out of its packaging. Like, that is really disappointing, especially when a product is so expensive. I would definitely never travel with this ever because it would probably go all over everything. It would break. It would be such a mess. Are they worth their very, very hefty price tag? It's really, really hard for me to say. I almost want to say that it isn't, just because there are so many other eyeshadow palettes out there that are so beautiful and that are definitely not as expensive as this one. However, if you do want to splurge and treat yourself, I don't think that you would regret it. So you guys also really wanted me to talk about some Kylie Cosmetics products. So I have the highlighters here that I wanted to discuss. These are the KYLIGHTERS. I don't know why, but I find that name to be so funny. Now, I bought every single one of them when they first released because I wanted to do a review for you guys. Guess what? It took them over 3 weeks for me to even receive them. So that was sort of crappy, and even though I live in Canada and shipping time is always a little bit longer, it very rarely ever takes 3 weeks. Now, as far as the consistency of the highlighters go, they're nice. They're not bad highlighters. The actual feeling of them is quite smooth. They're creamy. They're not glittery or chunky, which I definitely do really appreciate because nobody likes a chunky highlighter. So the formula itself is nice. And as far as the finish of the highlighters, they are definitely not glow from within type of highlighters. They are way more on the metallic side, but they're also not too metallic. And so in combination with the formula and the texture, it creates a nice looking highlighter. However, I definitely do not think these are worth the hype. I think that they are just okay highlighters. I think that there are so many highlighters on the market that just are far superior to these. And I think that everything that Kylie releases obviously is going to get a lot of hype. Some of the products I do feel are worth the hype, like the eyeshadow palettes. I really love the eyeshadow palettes. Not all of them, but some of them. While other products are not going to really be worth the hype. And I don't think that the KYLIGHTERS really were worth the hype, only because, like I said, there are so many other highlighters on the market that are easier to get, that don't have terrible shipping time, and that are also just a lot prettier on the skin. Those are my thoughts on the Kylie KYLIGHTERS, and in my opinion, they are not worth the hype. We are jumping back into skincare because I know you guys really wanted to know my thoughts on Sunday Riley skincare. Now, I bought both the Tidal Brightening Enzyme Water Cream as well as the Luna Sleeping Oil. I would have to say that the Tidal Brightening Enzyme Water Cream was not worth the hype for me. I think that this was just a very basic moisturizer. It really didn't do anything special for my skin. It moisturized it, but it didn't make it feel like amazing. I do feel like there are definitely other moisturizers that I've tried that I definitely do prefer, like the Drunk Elephant LALA Retro Whipped Cream Moisturizer. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't amazing, and I do not think that the Tidal Brightening Enzyme Water Cream was worth the hype. Now, as far as the Luna Sleeping Oil, I sort of have mixed feelings about it. I'm not really sure if it's really doing anything, to be honest. When I put it on my skin at night, it does feel really, really nice. My skin looks and feels very, very hydrated because, of course, it is a sleeping night oil, and I find that when I wake up in the morning, my skin just feels really, really beautiful. However, I haven't noticed like a significant change in my skin, and there is one thing that turns me off slightly about this product, and it's the fact that it does have like a bluish green dye to it, and that's sort of just strange for me in like a skincare product. Like, I would so much rather it didn't have any dye at all. So for this product, I'm a little bit on the fence with it. It does make my skin feel really nice, and I am going to continue to use it. However, I don't think it's like groundbreaking for my skin, but I do know so many people who love this. So I'm sort of on the fence with this product. This one is going to be right in the middle for me. Sorry, guys. So I was on Periscope earlier today getting ready, and I was asking my Periscope fam what they wanted to see me talk about, and a lot of people wanted to see me talk about Glossier, specifically the cloud paints. Now, I do feel like liquid blushes in general maybe get a little bit of a bad rap. They could be a little bit tricky sometimes. When a liquid blush is not formulated in the most perfect way, it can be really, really difficult to blend out. It can create a really like blotchy blush look, which is never pretty. However, these are outstanding. They are probably some of the best, if not the best, liquid blushes I have ever tried. I'm wearing the shade Dusk on my cheeks today, which is more of like a peachy nude. And what I like to do is I just dot it on the apples of my cheeks and then blend it out, and it blends out into the skin seamlessly. There's never any issues with patchiness or it setting down too quickly and not being able to like move it around. I think the reason why it is so easy to blend out is because of the formula. It's not as runny as a liquid, but it's also not as thick as a cream. It sort of sits right in the middle, and because of that, it really just blends out so nicely. Definitely got a big old stamp of approval for the cloud paints. So the next product that is very hyped up is definitely the Annstasin Dip Brow. I feel like this is like the original hyped up Instagram popular product. I do have my thoughts on this product because my thoughts have definitely changed throughout time. Now, when I first tried it, I hated this stuff because it made my brows look so crazy because I didn't use it in the correct way. Now, if you're not familiar with the Dip Brow, it is basically a brow pomade. So this is what it looks like. It comes in a little pot, and you basically just use a brush, you dip it in here, and you go in and you fill in your brows with this. Now, because this is a pomade, it is very, very intense. Like, you can get very bold brows with this stuff, let me tell you. I have definitely found out through the years like the correct way to actually use this product, and that is by taking a tiny little product. What I like to do is I actually like to take some product, wipe it off on the cap, and then wipe off the brush, and then dip my brush into the product that's in the cap. And then I like to go with a very light hand and then just draw in my brows, and I find that it actually gives a very, very nice look, and you can achieve natural brows with this product. So what's really nice about the pomade though is that it actually does last for a very, very long time. You could go swimming with this stuff and it will not move. So if you're the type of person where you feel like your brow product sort of just like disappears throughout the day, then you will probably really love this because it is like a semi-permanent tattoo. And also, if you don't have a lot of brow hairs, so if you're drawing on basically bare skin, this will really, really stay in place, because a lot of the times a powder or a pencil will not stay on bare skin because it doesn't really have anything to stick to. However, the pomade will definitely stay in place even if you don't have any hair where you're placing it. So I do think that this product is worth the hype if it is used correctly, because it's tricky. All right, guys, so the last product that we're gonna be talking about today is a mascara, and it is the Too Faced Better Than Sex. So I'm gonna break it down pretty simply. This mascara makes my lashes look really nice, makes them look fluffy and voluminous and long. However, it does not last on my eyes for shit. This mascara flakes like nothing else. I will look in the mirror at the end of the day and I will just have a little pile of black just sitting right underneath my eyes. And I also find that it does smudge quite a lot. I've even tried the waterproof version and I find that it does the exact same thing. I really wish that it didn't, because otherwise I do like the mascara. However, it just does not wear well at all. So I do not think that it is worth the hype. So guys, that finishes off today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful and entertaining. And of course, please let me know in the comments some other products that you would like to see me talk about in the next one. Like I said, I would love to do just a dedicated drugstore, overhyped, or worth the hype video. So leave all of your suggestions down below. Give this video a big thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.